Okay. Let me know when it starts.
Okay.
Okay. So have we started
Mhm.
yet? We
Mhm.
started yet. Oh, okay. Cool, cool. So hi, everybody out there in YouTube land. Um, that sounds so corny. We're once again with our draw or paint along, whatever you wish to work in. We got our reference right here. Anybody who knows my work from various social media knows that I had actually painted from this reference before. This is a picture of my son taken a few years ago. He's a little bit older now. This is when he was a teen. Now he's no longer a teen. And so I'm going to be working in gouache. And I would like that everyone just go ahead and work along in whatever medium you want to from the reference that we have here. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and start. Um, so, oh, and my wife Karen is here.
Oh, you said
Yeah.
hello, everybody.
So, did that work out? Huh? Karen, did that work out?
You know what? I can't get it. It's so small.
Oh,
I really can't get it.
okay. All right. Well, maybe if you tried the pad.
Oh, I see.
So I'm gonna work a little bit differently and more carefully than I've done before, at least on the the live stream. I want to going to try and work more deliberately.
Okay.
Okay, that didn't work out.
No, it doesn't. You have
Okay.
to you have to put it on the top because what's happening is the volume and the fast forward controls and the
Uh-huh.
pause is right over it. So every time I try to get to the link, it's actually giving me the volume and
Let's
the
see if I
pause.
could do something. Hold on 1 minute. You might notice something. Um, just trying to. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
You notice a little movement?
Okay, let's see. Okay, that's better. Um, let's see.
Okay.
Okay, just a minute.
So just let us know that you're out there, and leave comments. We can also chat about art and about painting and about uh, gouache, or you know any related topic.
Okay, well, Mr. Axbane, Mr.
Oh,
Axbane said hello. I've never seen you live before, but I've watched several of your videos, and your art is extremely good.
well, thank you. I'm glad you're joining us.
Okay, Mr. Vic is with us.
Okay. Mr.
Greetings.
Vic.
Hi, Mr. Vic. How are you?
Mr. Vic is back. Good to hear from you.
Okay. Okay, practicing my gouache With BARGUE? What is that? Okay. Mr. Axman had said, I'll be working on my own landscape painting while watching and listening.
Oh, cool. You're a
Uh-huh.
landscape painter. Okay, so.
Okay. So, this button that you were talking about
Doesn't work?
No.
Okay, well, I tried to add a button this week just as a way of, we just want to continue doing this. What do you think, Karen? Continue doing this and just a way of people supporting the channel?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so we tried to add the support us by buying us a coffee button on the lower left corner, but it doesn't seem that works too well. At least I haven't figured it out. So I left it also on top of the chat. There's a link to that if anyone wants to support or help out in here as far as this channel is concerned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, for right now, my, you know what? It seems to have frozen.
What's that?
Yeah, my watching your video, it seems to have frozen. And I was trying to,
Oh,
yeah,
hit this button.
the what? The play?
Yeah, play button.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Okay, I think I got you now.
Do you? Huh?
Oh, it went to the beginning.
Oh, what you can do is go all the way to the end, and that'll take you where we are currently.
Okay. It worked.
Okay, good. Good. You're back.
We're back.
The little glitches in technology.
Yeah. I gotta.
Now, I painted this before, and I painted a kind of, I wouldn't say very detailed, but somewhat detailed painting of this. I want to see how broadly I can paint this rather than work on trying to render or over render. So, trying to paint in tiles here.
I have someone named Yeminge,
Uh-huh.
I think. Greetings from North Virginia.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
North
Hi,
Virginia.
how are you?
My brother lives in Virginia.
Yeah, we have family that lives there. You know, I know the two states are Virginia and West Virginia, so I'm assuming he means Virginia, north, on the north side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
So anyway,
Hmm.
just to let everyone know, I am working in gouache, and the paper that I am painting on is Arches watercolor paper, hot pressed.
Okay. When your man chimed in again, he says, "Thanks. I'm new to gouache. I struggle with making the face color smooth."
Okay. Well, two things you gotta do with gouache is you gotta make sure that the paper that you're using works well with gouache, and you also have to make sure that there's a lot of gouache out there. Um, and unfortunately, there's a lot of student grade colors that don't work well, especially when you're blending. So you want to make sure that you have a good grade gouache, and that way you can avoid, any of the problems with blending the colors, and you know it just works more professionally.
Mhm.
No, I'm gonna, and I'm going to switch to a big brush because I think I'm noodling too much, or at least a bigger brush. If you're new to gouache, I also want to remind everyone that this fall at Penn Studio Art School, I'm going to be teaching a class in gouache, and it'll be at the Penn Studio Art School. It'll be online, and it'll be in the fall. I left the link to it in the down below.
So this is you practicing different shades of the face. I noticed like the upper forehead,
Uh-huh.
yeah, is shaded a different color from
Well,
the rest of the.
I'm trying to get the different there's a mixture of cool and warm colors here. So I'm trying to get that, and sometimes they're very subtle, and I'm going to have to at some point get away from how dark this looks. But
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to pick up these cool and warm colors
Oh, okay.
as best as I can. I'm not concentrating on detail right now. That'll come in later. I'm trying to paint color and shapes, mostly shapes. Like this, but the thing with this, the thing that makes this photo reference really good, and also really a challenge, is that it's very subtle.
Oh, okay.
The changes and the shifts
In
from
the shades of his face.
yeah, the shifts from warm to cool colors.
Okay.
And it's like you get some grays, you get some yellows, you get some reds, you get some blues in there, and it's all mixed in. So, and also I want to try, because I did another painting. I wish I could bring it up. Um, uh, Based on this photo, and what it was that I did do a lot of rendering, and I want to try not to render so much.
Okay.
Rendering just means that
You read my mind because I was about to ask you what do you mean by that?
that you went in and put in a lot of details. You as opposed to just painting big shapes that you see.
Okay.
I was more detailed than I want to be here, simply because I did that already.
Okay, well, we have two of our watchers indicating they're both from Virginia,
Oh,
and
okay.
they're sharing greetings with each other.
Cool.
Yeah.
Community. It's a good thing.
Okay, as you were sharing about the gouache portrait painting class you're going to do this fall,
Yes.
yeah, I had sent the link as well, you know,
Okay.
just to let people know. And so, Yemenj, I don't know if I'm saying this right, help me out here. Tell me if I'm saying it right. Thank you, Gil. We'll check out the class. I've watched many of your videos, like your way of building up layers of paint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I started this video out with I already drew what I wanted to paint because I didn't want the video to take too long. Let me see.
Oh, yes. What's how you say my name? Oh, okay. You say I'm saying it. I guess he says I'm saying it right.
Oh, okay.
Yemenj. Yeah. So you mentioned you were saying that you're new to gouache. What what medium do you normally use? Is it digital or watercolors or oils? I don't know. And yeah. So
Okay.
and Mr. Axbane, you know when you were saying you were working on your own landscape, is it in the landscape of Virginia or um, some reference you have from the state of Virginia? Hmm. Yeah, wow. Okay, let's see. Axbane, Mr. Axbane. Yes, it's a landscape based on a photo I took near where I live. I actually just finished it. Worked on it for the past 2 days. Oh,
Oh.
excellent.
Mm.
Excellent. Mm. Mm. Okay. Yaminj says, I'm new to painting, period. Okay, I was asking him what mediums did he use. Picked up art during the pandemic. Oh, that,
Okay.
wow, that's interesting. I've taken color pencil classes and a watercolor class. Fascinated as what gouache can do and easy to clean.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah, during the pandemic, a lot of people got crafty, during the pandemic. I kind of think that people had always wanted to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and then, the pandemic just opened up that in people. They had to stay home, and so they picked up hobbies or talents that
Or
they
just
wanted
latent
to,
interest.
yeah, or interest, right? Things they
Mm.
wanted to do. So yeah, okay. Well, Mr. Axbane said of the landscape that he's doing, it's a gravel roadway leading off from the viewer between groups of bushy trees, and I changed several things from the photo. Okay, but it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like you got, the gist of that photo in which you wanted to capture. Uh-huh. Okay. Well, Mr. Axbane has said he's used gouache. He's used cheap ones, expensive ones, and
Mm-hmm.
he loves it a lot. But he thinks he like casein paint.
Casing.
Casein? Okay.
Yeah, I love casein paint.
Casein paint even more?
Yeah, I love casein. The only thing is that it's so expensive. It dries quick, and
Oh, okay.
it dries on the palette basically. And unlike gouache, you can't reactivate it. But I love it a great deal. There's an old illustrator who worked in casein most of his life, and his casein paintings look like oil paints. His name was Harry Anderson, and I loved his work. I have a book on his work that I treasure.
Okay. And you said the painter?
His name was Harry Anderson. He painted in casein. Looked very much like oils. Very beautiful stuff.
Okay. 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 Well, your Minge has said exactly when we were talking about, how this pandemic has led a lot of people to pick up their interest. And I was kind of saying, I think they always wanted to, but didn't have the time, and the pandemic had created that. Well, he says exactly, always wanted to learn to paint or draw, wanted to wait until retirement, but working from home gave me more time. I used to like to draw as a kid. That helped some.
Yeah.
Gil and I had talked about that, a while ago, about when he was interested in art, and he was saying to me that he had, as a young child, was interested in art and drew as a young child.
Yeah, I was, when I was young, I was in love with comic books and comic book artists, and that's what I grew up on, and then I as I went on, my interest, I still love comic books, but my interest changed. I went to a great high school here in New York City called the High School of Art and Design, and I learned about other types of art. I learned, Rembrandt, Velasquez, Sorolla, John Singer Sargent. I learned about other stuff, as well as really great illustrators of the period. Besides Norman Rockwell, there was J.C. Leyendecker. There was plenty of other guys, N.C. Wyeth, and so forth, and that kind of sealed it for me.
Okay. Well, Mr. Axbane said, yes, casein is fantastic. I think it's even better than acrylic.
I agree with you there.
Oh, do you agree with them?
Yes, I like it so much better than acrylic paint. It'll probably last, well, it definitely will last a lot longer than acrylic paint, because they noticed that a lot of these acrylic paints, the paints are made of plastic, and a lot of that, some of these paintings that are hanging in museums that are done in acrylic, the plastic, or whatever you call, whatever the scientific term for it is, started deteriorating, and so that presented a real problem. Whereas casein was used way back in the Renaissance, and those things still survive, as well as the gouache paintings that were painted back then. The thing is that a lot of paintings that were labeled watercolor, and I'm thinking of artists like Albert Dürer, were actually gouache paintings.
Okay. Well, Axbane had said last couple of months though, I've switched almost entirely to doing oil paintings, solvent free, using sapphire oil for brush cleaning and solvent free gel as my painting medium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sapphire oil, I gotta say, because I've heard people use walnut oil, and because it's not like turpentine or anything like that. It's very natural. But I'm thinking that walnut oil, at least from what I've seen, if you buy it in art supply stores, is expensive. I'm wondering, is the sapphire oil the same way? Um, Not that I plan to get into uh, oils anytime soon. I would love to. I just don't have the space for it. I was painting almost exclusively in oils way back since high school. But the problem was that once my children were born, I didn't want them around the solvents. So I switched to watercolor, then eventually gouache. And what happened was that I never switched back to oil paint because I don't have the space. I would love to work in oil paint though.
Okay.
So I wish I was in your spot right now.
Oh, but using oil again.
Using oil again, yeah.
Okay.
Oils is great to use,
Okay.
especially if you can use it without the solvents.
Okay. Well, Mr. Axbane said, yep, walnut oil, linseed oil, sapphire oil, or can all be used to clean brushes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This has a little bit more yellow in it. I'm talking to myself as I'm
Oh,
painting.
okay.
I'm saying,
'Cause I
I'm saying
thought
this.
you said something about yellow.
Yeah, this part has a little bit more yellow in it.
Okay.
Is what I was saying.
Okay, well, everybody, I don't know if you know this, I don't think so, but today is Gil's birthday. So I just wanted to wish him well, I did earlier, but to wish him a happy birthday on this live stream.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Okay, well, the birthday wishes are coming in. Happy birthday, Gil.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mr. Yamin said happy birthday. Mr. Axbane said, oh wow, happy birthday. Yes. And yeah.
Yes, and when we're done, I asked for cheesecake, and so my wife bought me a cheesecake instead of a. Well, actually, she bought me a cheesecake and a regular birthday cake. I would prefer just the cheesecake, but hey.
Yeah. And I bought ice cream too. We're going into a strict coma later
Yes, we
today.
do. So when we're done with the live stream, we'll be going into sugar shock.
Okay. Well. Okay. Well, Mr. Axbane had talked about, we were talking about the different oils used to clean the brushes. And he was saying, I found the only thing you can't really do when going solvent free is thin the paint a lot for the first layers. But instead, you can use a small amount of paint on the brush and kind of scrub it in to create a thin layer of paint. Do you use that method?
Oh, this was like when I was painting in oils with solvents. So, and that was a long time ago. And since then, I've heard about, different people, using like the walnut oil and things like that. But I have not gotten back into oil painting to test any of it or
Okay.
experience it myself. I would love to. Um, Now the tricky thing with gouache paints is that you have to get used to the fact that they dry. I mean, they dry a lot darker than when you put them on. Um, so in some ways, I have to be somebody. You just have to be bold with the paints and kind of try to predict how they're going to dry.
Okay. Well, Maritza is with us.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. She says, hello, everyone. Okay. One of the reasons why I prefer gouache is because the technique does not use solvents. I love oil paint, but the smell is very strong and causes me allergies.
Yeah, yeah. That's the reason why I was mentioning earlier about this illustrator named Harry Anderson. He, in the time when a lot of the other illustrators painted in oils, like Norman Rockwell, you know, Gene Cornwell, or what have you, he was painting in casein, and it looked very much like oils. The thing with the casein is that it's like gouache, but unlike gouache, it dries and it you can't reactivate it like the water won't reactivate the paint. So it dries like oils instead of like a watercolor, where the paint is just sealed, and which leads to like other things you can do with it, like paint with the different washes of color on top of it, or scumbling, or just any number of techniques that you can normally do with oils, and his paintings look great, and they look a lot like oils. And then you just use water. Now the paint is milk based, so it has a different kind of smell to it, kind of a sweet smell, but it's not because of any solvents or anything like that. Everything that's in there is natural in terms of the binder, but because it's even though you can paint thick patches of paint with it, unlike gouache, because it's milk based, it's also thin and brittle. So what you got to do is you got to make sure you paint like on, this is like I take this piece of paper onto a masonite panel, so you got to paint on a panel or some sort of heavy board that's not going to be flexible, so it doesn't crack the paint. The paint itself won't crack if the surface is stable. But it's a great alternative to oil paint. If you can't paint an oil paint, and the reason why Harry Anderson did that was because he had an allergy towards oil paints, so he could not use oil paint. I think he developed it later on in his career. So casein is a great alternative if you can't use oil paint. You know, you can use casein.
Okay. Well, Mr. Axbane is speaking to Maritza, and he wishes Maritza hello. He said, yeah, solvents are very toxic,
Yes.
but you can do oil painting solvent free.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing it for a couple of months using sapphire oil and Master's brush cleaner for the cleaning of my brushes. So I guess that's a very
Yeah.
very good fact to pick up on. Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if, I'm noticing you putting down blue, very faint blue color. uh-huh.
Yeah. And is that because that's what you see reflecting in the light?
No, this is a choice that I make. Yeah, but there are cool colors in here. But in this blue, I have a kind of mixture of, I think it's cerulean blue, a touch of yellow ochre, and titanium white to make this blue. And I did it basically not because of anything. I mean, I chose my color to be like a light blue color, and I think that would help with some of the grays and the blues that I see in here. I might even include this color in it. But I did it mostly to fix the silhouette around the side of the face.
Oh, okay. Mhm. I'm watching as you're applying the paint, and to me, on the screen, it looks like a purplish color, but it's really a brown mixed in with the blue, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. 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 Well, Mr. Axbane says the next thing I want to try is oil painting outdoors because I've never done that before. I even built myself a lightweight wooden thumb box recently.
Oh,
Gonna try it out very soon.
that's great. That that it's a wonderful experience.
Yeah, I remember some time ago, uh, during I think the spring months,
Uh-huh.
we had went out. This was a few years back, not so long ago, where you had taken your art supplies and everything, and you were, if people are familiar with New York City, there's a borough called the Bronx. We live in the borough of the Bronx, And in the Bronx, we have what's called City Island, and that's a place where it has a lot of restaurants, and they serve seafood because they're near the water. The water's right off from them, and so we went to City Island, and it's so picturesque right there. It really is. And I remember he bought all his supplies, and I was on the bench reading that day as he was taking in the landscape and painting.
Well, seascape. Seascape was. We were by.
Oh
the,
yeah, that's right, seascape.
Right. We were by the. What do you might call it? What do you call that area?
What, City Island?
Yeah, where you're by the docks.
Yeah, by
Where
the
they
dock.
dock the boats.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. You know what? That's a good thing. You want to be out there and experience that. I think you're truly gonna love it.
Tell you, one of the things is one of the greatest experiences about painting outdoors is when you paint outdoors. You're sitting out there for a long time. Sometimes it takes you hard to. It takes you. I'm sorry. It takes you a long time to find your subject. You're picky about your subject. And the thing is that after you've been painting, say for a couple of hours or so, outdoors, is that after you finish, you have this like experience where you look around and everything is a possibility for a painting. You see a painting in just about everything, and it's just like a side effect for having concentrated and painted outdoors. Now, I didn't make this up, and this was, I remember this was something that was told to me by one of the instructors that I had. And then I was surprised, and I wasn't even expecting when I experienced that myself. After painting outdoors, it was like everything was a possibility for a painting. Everything that you see, you felt like, hey, that's a great idea. I should paint that, you know. Whereas it seemed like such a difficult time at finding the right subject beforehand. Afterwards, it just seemed like so easy, like everything was there.
Mm. Okay. Well, Mr. Axbane says his mother is from Long Island, so I'm assuming she's near the water. So you're
Yeah.
familiar with the city, New York City area. Long Island is, I think, south of where we're at.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Long Island is, crosses Queens and Brooklyn.
Right. So that's south of the Bronx. So he says he's really looking forward to it. And the reason he built his own painting box is because he couldn't afford the ones that were on the market.
Yeah, they get a bit expensive.
Yeah, but it allowed him to build the box exactly to the size and design he wanted. Okay. So, Mr. Axbane, it seems like you're a man of many talents. And what do they say? Necessity is the mother of inventions? Well, Mr. Axbang says, thank you. I'm one of those people that's been creating and making stuff since I was a kid. Used to make myself wooden swords out of scraps of wooden trim in the garage and stuff. Okay. Yeah. The most crafty that I've ever gotten was when I took home economics in school, and they had a woodwork shop. You know, this was middle school, I believe. Yeah, this was middle school, from 6th to 8th grades. And I remember making an owl, a wooden owl, and in wood shop. And my mother kept that. You know, it was a nice figurine that I did. But that was the extent of my craftiness. You know, that was the extent. Okay. He says, I actually made a painting box out of an old peanut brittle box. I remember those. And after it was finished, I remembered I had some old birch plywood panels and decided to go ahead and make one out of wood. Okay. Yeah. So, where did you pick it up? It sounds like that your parents was into wood. You know, maybe your father was a carpenter or something. Am I assuming right, or you know, how did they come by all this wood pieces that you kind of put together? He says he loves working with wood. Yeah. You know, my mother is she's crafty. She loves doing crafts. You know, when I was a kid, she would do. I don't know if anybody remembers this. It's she would take I don't know, this small wire frame, and dip it into this solution, and she would make like plastic flowers. You know, it was really nice and decorative. Then she sewed. I think that was out of necessity because, you know, when I was growing up, I was a very skinny kid. And when my family went shopping for clothes for me, you know, my arms were so long that the clothes didn't fit me right on my arms and things. So my mother would sew, you know, and I wore several different outfits that my mother sewed for me to school, and they were really nice. You know, I wasn't a kid that saw what she sewed and said, I ain't wearing that. You know, they were really nice clothing. It was stylish and everything, you know, for the times. And so she used to do that. Right now, she makes wreaths and hair bows, you know, for little girls, you know. So she's always doing something. Yeah. And I remember her working with wood, and she would have a copy of a painting, right? She would glue it on this wood, and what she would do is she would sand the edges of the wood so the edges are chipped, so it looked like that this is a very old painting, when in fact she had glued it and sanded and then colored it, stained it, not color it, stained it, you know. And yeah, she was very crafty. She was very crafty. Well, Mr. Axbane said, well, my dad was a house painter, and my mom did a lot of carpentry for home, like making shelves and such. Plus, they always saved scraps, so there were various pieces of wood for me to get crafty with. Okay, Very good. You know, I was thinking about uh, uh, trying to follow different hobbies and things like that, like crocheting and sewing and knitting. I don't know how to knit. You know, I've crocheted some like little pieces of stuff, but I would like to get into that again. So I'm with you, Mr. Axbang. You know, I would like to get into that. So we have a person that's handy with his hands, not just with art, but not with just painting, I should say, but a carpenter in the making. That's what I'm gonna call you, Mr. Axbane. A carpenter in the making.
Well, I think he's a carpenter.
I'm just saying, a carpenter in the making. Mm.
Okay, so what usually happens is that before this live stream ends, which is not just yet, but I'm not going to have enough time to finish this. You know, not during the live stream. But what I will do is, as I did before, is if anyone looks on my YouTube channel on the landing page, you see there's a community tab, and on that community tab, what I would do is post the finished image, the finished painting once I'm done with it. So I can already tell you I'm going to have a lot of things to resolve in here. Part of it is I have a little bit of a difficulty with viewing the reference because I have these two lights shining in my face and the reference is in the screen in front of me, and so it's kind of hard to see it with any accuracy. Like, I would know that this nose has to be worked on a little bit more as far in the silhouette of his face, of the profile here, before I can be happy with it. So part of this is I'm going to have to view this without having these lights in my face afterwards. But you know, I can manage to get the general shape and the subtleties of the transitions from cool to warm and the lights in here. And then once this the paint, the great thing about gouache is once you have a certain amount of paint on it, you can just use water to push it around. And find your shapes, and also simplify certain areas. See, the thing about gouache, as I said earlier, you got to be careful to avoid like the student grade gouache, because you wouldn't be able to do this, with student grade gouache, as far as really pushing the paint around. I mean, you'll be able to do it to a degree, but not as effectively as you would with artist grade paints. I have a mixture of Turner Designer Gouache, Winsor and Newton, and Holbein. Those are kind of like the brands that I use. I might have some Talons. I think one of the reds that I use is a vermilion, and that's Talons.
Okay. Well, you were talking about how you're going to post the finished work in the community tab.
Yes.
And you weren't able to resolve, I think you said,
Yeah.
all the things. Well, Mr. Axbang says it looks fantastic to him, and it seems like you nearly finished it in less than an hour, minus the drawing phrase. So nice work.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Well, he wants to know, what brand of gouache do you recommend?
I like Turner Designer Gouache.
You did comment on this already?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. He said you already mentioned it, but maybe you want to mention it again. I don't know.
Yeah, Turner Designer Gouache, Winsor and Newton, and Holbein mainly, and like I said, there's one of the reds, which is a vermilion, and I have a tube of Talons, and I really don't know how I came by that tube. I don't know if I bought it or it was given to me, but
I thought you were about to say sneaked into your painting.
It turned up there somehow.
It walked out of the store, huh, Gil?
Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. I tell you, one of the better buys I've ever made. I don't know if I should mention it, but was when I went to buy some brushes. Now, brushes are expensive, and I bought. I looked in the store, and they had some before. There was a period of time where they weren't selling any more sable brushes, any of the natural sable brushes. So this was just before then, and so I saw that they had some Winsor & Newton Series 7 brushes, and natural sable brushes, and so I knew these were very expensive. So easily could cost anywhere from $50 to $70 and more. So there was Winsor & Newton Series 7, number 7. I said, how much are those brushes? And the guy gave me a figure like 7 and change. And I wasn't sure that, he was making fun of me or pulling my leg. I said, are you serious? And he said, yeah, they're 7 and change. So I said, let me have 7 of those. And I gave him a chance. I said, you sure this is what it costs? He says, yeah. And he rang me up. And I don't know if you guys get to see this commercial, but it's very funny. This woman running in the parking lot, and she had just come from a big sale in the store, and so she felt like she just made a steal, and so she's yelling to her husband, start the car. And that's kind of what it felt like. I just had to get out of there. Because if you ever bought those brushes, you know that they are expensive.
Okay. Okay, when Yiming has said, I always mix more color than I need. Any advice on not wasting leftover paint? It seems that you dip into the color box directly.
Yeah, well, the thing about this is that there are painters who paint in gouache who will put out fresh paint all the time, and then use up their paint and then throw out any leftovers. I don't do that because paint is expensive, and that's the reason why I buy quality paints, because I want to be able to, to react, because you can reactivate gouache, especially if they're artist grade and not student grade. You can reactivate it with just some water, and then over the years I learned to pick out which colors work best and are more opaque, and so I buy those, and it's kind of like really I would have to come up with a list. Maybe I would post a list of the colors, and I would post that on my community page. But because of that, I bought a palette that you can get on Amazon, and it's airtight, so that the paints won't dry right away. It'll keep the paint moist for some time. But even if they dry to some degree, like I have paint here that has dried, my burnt umber has dried, I can apply water and reactivate the paint. And see, this is burnt umber, and I can use it again. Now, if I feel like it's not as thick as I want it to be, I can also put a little bit of honey in the paint. Honey works as a binder. There's some watercolors and some gouache that use honey as a binder. So just a tad of honey, and that'll help thicken the paint a bit, also loosen it, and you can use that as a binder. So I don't throw my paints out. I keep it in this container. Let me see if I could see if you can see it here. This container, and it has a lid, and I can see the top. I can put that lid back on there, and close it up with these clamps, and it'll be airtight. So that way I don't have to throw out my paints, and then they last longer, and you don't wind up spending a lot of money on paints because they are expensive. They are, and some paints you get a good deal on. They're not that expensive, like the Turner Designer Gouache. And also I learned that there's one of the things you got to know about color too, or about pigments. Some pigments are what you call fugitive. That means that over time the color will fade when it's under direct light or there's too much light. Over time the color fades. So I kind of weaned those colors off of my palette. Like alizarin crimson was a color I used to love to use, but alizarin crimson is a fugitive color. It'll fade eventually. So you look at a good brand of any kind of paint, oil paint, watercolor, gouache, will have something on it which will tell you how light fast that color is. If it's light fast, that means it will not fade when it's exposed to the light over time. So it's just a property of the pigments. Some pigments fade over time, others don't at all. So those are the pigments that I include in my palette. Now, if you shop online for your colors, you will be able to read online, or like one of the places I go to is Blick's department store, Blick's Art Shop online. It's Dick Blick, and they are art supplies. And whenever I buy their gouache, I look at the individual color, and I click on that color, and it'll tell me if the color is light, fast, or not. So any good brand will tell you that on their label. Any good art supply store will include that information when you go and select your paints. So anyway, I'll put on the community page a list of the colors that I use, and maybe later on this video or on my next video, I'll put a link to the palette that I purchased so that my paints won't dry out over time, or won't dry out as fast, and I can always reactivate them. And like I said, a little bit of honey and water, or just water. I just use water. I haven't even used the honey on any of these paints, but it's just all you need is a tad to reactivate your paints.
Okay. Well, once you were talking, certain comments that came in, so you might have already addressed this as you were talking. But Mr. Axman said I've used cheap arts gouache with an X at the end, arts gouache, and a few tubes of expensive M. Graham.
M. Graham is a great brand. That's the brand that I'm thinking about, that they use honey in there. I think that's them.
Oh, okay. He says the M. Graham stuff is noticeably better in vibrancy and consistency.
Yes.
But the cheap stuff wasn't all that bad. And right. And he also said that the M. Graham gouache has a bit of honey. Supposedly the honey also gives the paint a bit of flexibility, so there's less chance of cracking if you apply it thick.
Yes.
Yeah. So Maritza wanted you to know that excellent work. You're very talented, and it's evident your experience in the handling of the different techniques. You are a very complete artist.
Oh, thank you, Maritza.
And Yiming says, thank you so much for the advice. I've got the airtight box. I guess I would try not to mix much on the flat color palette. Great tip with the honey. Yeah. Okay, well, C. Warden sends us a smiley face.
Okay.
Okay. Well, it's 4:21.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I want to thank everyone for joining in, and thank you for the chat. I really appreciate all this time that you guys made comments and even chatted with each other. I think that's great. Again,
yes. I said yes.
Yes. Okay. Again, I'm going to finish this painting. Probably tomorrow I will put it up on the community page, and as far as the finished painting is concerned, and I also want to remind everyone, on the top there we have that a link on the top of the chat that you can, just to support what we do. You can buy us a cup of coffee, or you can, there's a link below to my Patreon page. You can join me on Patreon, where I share more artwork, more videos, sketchbooks, and different images and stuff like that, depending on the tier you choose. And oh yeah, the art school, the pen. I will be having a class this fall on Pen Studio Art School, and the link is also below, and also included in the chat, which my wife Karen had put that in. But thank you. We really enjoyed having this this live stream. This is about, oh gosh, it's been 7 or 8 live streams now.
Oh,
About or maybe more. I don't know. Probably more. And they've just gotten better, and we enjoy them. So thank you so much. All right. So we will be back again next week. And until then, enjoy your painting. Enjoy your week. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay.